Hi, I'm Chelly Wood, and this is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make a basic wedding dress. It could be a princess dress, or it could even be a Victorian era pioneer dress, using my free printable PDF sewing pattern and optional notions like rickrack and ruffle trims, but the notions are completely optional because by itself this is a lovely dress. Before we begin, please go to my website chellywood.com to download the free PDF sewing pattern. It will include a bodice, sleeve, cuff, and a pattern for the skirt plus petticoat. Note, this is an older video that I have remastered, so some of the photos aren't the best, and I'm sorry about that, but I did try to incorporate newer ones. Use the pattern to cut out all the pieces shown here. Sew the darts in both bodice fronts. Clip excess fabric from your darts. Do this for both front pieces. So you should now have two fronts with darts. Lay one front on top of another, keeping right sides together. Stitch around the neckline. Clip and invert your bodice front. Sew each pair of backs together along the neckline and down the center of the back. These are actually 4 pieces of fabric. Clip these seams as well. Turn right sides out and press. Lay one of the bodice backs on top of the bodice front and stitch the shoulder. And there's a close-up of the shoulder. Do the same for the other bodice back. Open the bodice up like this and press the shoulder seam. Now your bodice should look something like this. Now we'll attach a sleeve. With the bodice right side up, lay one sleeve over the top of the bodice, keeping those right sides together, and sew from the underarm area to just shy of the shoulder seam. Tie a knot there. Bring the other arch of the sleeve around to the other underarm area. So I have a little video to show you what I mean by this. Okay, so you just take the sleeve that you've partially sewn on and you wrap it around so where it has that swoop, it meets with the other underarm. And now stitch from this underarm area to just shy of the shoulder seam once again. There should now be a gap at the top of the sleeve. And you should gather this gap area on the sleeve part, not on the bodice. Here's a closer look at my gathers, but you may find your gathers, this particular sleeve requires a lot of gathering. Do not tie off your gathers until you're sure that the sleeve fits nicely into the shoulder area of the bodice. So kind of pinch them together. Tie off the gathers and attach the top of the sleeve to the shoulder. I used a backstitch, and you can find my backstitch tutorial in the description below. Now that you've attached one sleeve, it probably looks something like this. Your pattern does include a cuff, but it's also possible to just attach a pre-gathered ruffle to the end of the sleeve like you see me doing here. It will look extra puffy if you also gather the bottom of the sleeve, that raw edge of the sleeve, okay, before you attach the ruffle trim. However, if you want to use the cuff that I provide, here's how you attach a cuff. So this is my cutout cuff. I begin by gathering the cuff end of the sleeve. And if you need help with gathering, I do have a tutorial for that in the description below. Okay. And then you compare the gathers to the long side of the cuff. When the cuff and the gathers match in length, knot your gathered thread. Then stitch the gathers to the cuff. I'm using a backstitch here, and again, if you're curious what a backstitch is, there is a link to my backstitch tutorial in the description below too. Once the cuff has been attached, fold it once and then a second time. Okay, so here I am doing those folds. Next, whip stitch to sew along the edge of the cuff, attaching it fully to the sleeve. Sew the second sleeve following all of these directions. Sew your side seams and clip at the underarm to ease some tension. Use a chopstick to turn the bodice right side out. Now, hemming the lace or the tool that you use for a petticoat is completely optional, but it does keep the petticoat the same length as the rest of the dress if you're going to actually hem it. You can choose embellishments for the skirt if you wish. If you plan to use embroidery for an embellishment, and I have a bunch of tutorials for embroidery on my website, then you will need to hem your skirt. But if you plan to attach another pre-made ruffle, then a hem is optional. I did a double layer ruffle with rickrack. Now, you need to gather the skirt and petticoat with one thread. Before you're done gathering, match the length of the skirt's waist with the bottom part of the bodice, and then stitch the bodice to the skirt, leaving a bit of skirt overhanging the bodice on both sides of the skirt. Fold this little overhanging bit of skirt in and whip stitch to hem this back closure area. Fold the skirt in half and stitch from the hem up the skirt to the back closure area. Turn the whole dress right side out. Add a row of snaps. In the UK they call them poppers at the closure area. And now you're ready to try the dress on a doll. For more free printable PDF sewing patterns, including the Renaissance pinafores from my Romeo and Juliet, the bonnets, the aprons, the cloaks, and other unusual doll clothes sewing patterns, please remember to visit my website, chellywood.com. Hey, did you know that you could design your own doll pants patterns from scratch with just a limited amount of sewing knowledge? Pattern design is made simple by connecting your doll's measurements with a template I give you during my course. I'm Chelly Wood, the doll clothing designer. I own Chelly Wood LLC and the website chellywood.com. In my Creative Spark online learning course on doll pants design, I'll teach you the basic fundamentals of pattern design, like how do seam allowances work, before we move on to work on designing our own leggings, jeans, fly front pants, and even overalls. So please join me. I would love to see you on the Creative Spark online learning platform. Come see what we offer. Again, I'm Chelly Wood, one of the instructors.